Hey everybody, welcome back to the Overwatch League report. I'm Brian.
I'm Ben. We're going to start today by talking about the Chengdu Hunters.
They're interesting because they have a panda as their mascot.
Yep,
Pandas
very Chinese.
Don't hunt many things, to my knowledge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they hunt down the eucalyptus and bamboo trees and plants.
Do they? I feel like most of the pandas that are alive are in captivity, and as such, get fed.
Well, we're not going for it. To be fair, you look at like the Spark, and they have a finger shooting electricity. And last I checked, most fingers don't shoot electricity. So
fair enough. So let's start talking about the coaches, and this is kind of confusing to me. And you were telling me before we started recording how to pronounce these names because, we don't want a repeat of the last time of me mispronouncing everything. And so the two coaches are Ray and also Ray.
Yeah, I mean, the first coach, so the head coach, is less of an anglicized Ray. It's more of like a Ray.
Ray. Okay.
If you want to say them like a white American, it's like, you say Ray.
Well, unfortunately for me, I will say like a white American. So, RUI Ray, coach for the Miraculous Youngsters before that, for over a year, stepped down from the Dragons for health reasons. And then he came back to coach in the Overwatch World Cup, and he actually led the Chinese national team to a second place finish.
Yeah, it's just a surprising upset that China made it so far. They upset Finland, I believe, and then they upset Canada. And both were very good matches. And, obviously a lot of that can come down to the coaching. So as you insinuated, this coach, Ray, was also in the Overwatch League briefly last season as a coach for the Shanghai Dragons before health issues with, I believe he had like back issues or something like that, caused him to step away from Overwatch, go back to China, deal with his issues, and then emerge like a phoenix to coach the Overwatch World Cup, and now to coach a brand new team.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's, kind of weird. I can't blame him for wanting to just quit on the Shanghai Dragons. I think most of us would have faked a back injury to get out of that situation. But it's interesting that he's decided to become the head coach of another upstart team. Tell me a little bit about Ray. He doesn't have a ton of experience, and he comes from a smaller regional competition space. And you have in your notes that he's relatively untested.
Yeah, so Ray comes from the Pacific Contenders League from a Taiwanese team known as Flash Wolves. Yeah, it's like, because usually you talk about the big four contenders leagues. You have NA, EU, Korea, and China, and so coming from a Taiwanese team. And coming from that team where he didn't spend too much time there, he didn't really have a very huge role in them being successful or anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see if this duo can actually bring the Hunters a couple of wins.
It'll definitely be interesting to see. So let's get on to the players, the people who are actually going to be competing out there for the Pandas, hunting people down, much like Pandas do. We're going to start off with Caillou. I don't know. Kyo? How do we pronounce that? Yes, that's it.
I'm glad we went over all those pronunciations, Brian.
I know, it's just stuck in my mind so well. All right, so something that is very interesting about this entire team is that every single player is from China, so we won't be saying it as we go because it's a little bit redundant. Anyways, He is a support player, and his main two heroes are Anna and Zenyatta. What can we expect?
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to talk about Kyo and Late Young, I mean, Kyo as a support player, both of those players are going to come from Team CC, which is the Shanghai Dragons contenders team, their academy team. And I mean, compared to the Shanghai Dragons, they've done very well, but compared to teams within Chinese contenders, they're I would say average at best. So coming from that team, you're going to get two of presumably your starting players. It doesn't really lend itself to a lot of confidence, in my opinion. Which is why I actually, I told you this already, that I think that I might have overrated the Chengdu Hunters by putting them only third worst team.
It's a pretty serious shade. I'm not gonna lie. You like looking at them and you're like, "Oh, Brian, this is terrible."
Yeah,
I don't know what I was thinking.
No, yeah, definitely.
They have no Overwatch League experience in terms of actual like league play. No one on this team was on a team last year,
right?
So, pretty interesting. So let's move on to the next support player, whose name is luckily Garry. Garry plays Anna Zenyatta in Sombra.
And he comes to us from Lucky Future, and Lucky Future is also a Chinese contenders team, as a lot of these players, I believe actually all of these players, at some point have played for a Chinese contenders team.
The good contenders is what you say.
Yeah. And Lucky Future, I would say, were even worse than Team CC. They have basically fallen out of being in contention as like a potential top Chinese contender team. And I mean, Garry's fine, but like he's like a passable player from a bad team. This team has 3 support players. He's definitely number 3 out of 3 in my opinion. So
all right, let's move on to the other one. Is actually a Pokemon. It's been informed me, and he is Yveltal. Means Mercy, Lucio, and Zenyatta.
Yeah, I think that Yveltal is possibly the best player on this team. He recently competed on the Chinese Overwatch World Cup team, being coached by Rai. And as you mentioned, he's a support player. He did pretty well on that team. A lot of their success, I think, came down to a couple of key players, but Yveltal is definitely one of them. And he's likely to be the main support player for their team. And I don't think that he's the issue with the Chengdu Hunters. I think that if they perform decently, it'll be because he's carrying them on the support side.
And no problem about copywritten names, apparently.
Yeah.
Speaking of copywritten names, Elsa. His main is Zarya. And apparently, fun fact, he was named Ninja before, Ninja became super famous.
He's also coming from a Chinese contenders team, Lingan, the same Chinese contenders team that Yveltal was on. But he was, a less impressive member of that team, but still pretty good. But yeah, Lingan was, again, we keep on kind of pushing this through, not a great team in Chinese contenders. So what this team kind of is like they took all the like mid to low tier Chinese contenders team, they plucked out above average players from those teams and tried to throw them all together. So Elsa's a good player. Probably going to be starting, especially in a GOATS meta. They're going to need another strong tank besides Late Young, and that's probably going to be Elsa.
Perfect segue. Let's go to Late Young. Main Zarya and Tracer.
And D.Va. Late Young also he said is a flex player, but mostly plays tank, like off tank kind of roles. Pretty decent D.Va player, actually. Also played on the Chinese Overwatch World Cup team under Coach Roy, and also before playing on Team CC, played on Miraculous Youngsters under Coach Roy. And I'd say that Late Young is like an average player on those teams, but those teams were pretty good. Like, obviously, the Overwatch World Cup team did really well, and Late Young was like a decent member of that team. He wasn't the standout, in my opinion, but he had some good plays. He definitely was a member of the team.
Man, so shady tonight, bud.
I mean, this is what happens when you maybe talk about
Young
bad teams, Brian.
Was definitely there.
But yeah, I think that Lei Young is good. I think that he has a lot to prove. He's a strong D.Va player. As long as D.Va continues to see play, which I have no reason to think D.Va will not continue to see play. He's going to be probably starting in almost every situation. So.
All right. What about a Ming? He's a tank, D.Va, Reinhardt, and I always want to say Hammond, but the official name is Wrecking Ball. One of my favorite heroes, if only because it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so a Meng as well as Jin Mu, who we'll talk about, come from BTRG. BTRG is, again, not a great team, and Meng and Jin Mu are both not super great players from that team. They're with a Meng, because they're going to need a third tank to fill out a GOAT's composition. It's likely he'll see play in like a Reinhardt role, but he's not, like, he wouldn't be a starter on any other Overwatch League team, I think.
And the shade continues.
I feel like an asshole.
Hey man, I feel like my entire reputation thus far into the show is, Brian has a real weird obsession with hating the Shanghai Dragons. For a team as bad and as relevant as the Shanghai Dragons, Brian just is always going at them.
Shanghai Dragons are going to be good this season. I'm calling it. We'll talk about that eventually, of course. But
it's going to be exactly like the Cleveland Browns this year.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Jin Mu, because we just mentioned him. DPS player, mains Genji, Brigitte, and Junkrat.
Yeah, so Jin Mu is probably going to be their main DPS player, despite, like I mentioned, being a mediocre player from a bad team and one of the less competitive contenders leagues. So, yeah, he's good. He's played. I watched some of his Brigitte play, and he's fine. I mean, he's not like actively bad, but like
he's fine. He's fine.
Yeah.
All right. What about Baconjack? Also DPS, plays Reaper, Tracer, Hanzo, and D.Va.
Yeah. So now we're gonna get into the final two players for the Chengdu Hunters, and there's a lot of parallels between these two players. For Baconjack, he played on the Flash Wolves a year ago. And as mentioned earlier, the Flash Wolves is the team that the second Ray is coming from as a coach. And since then, since January of 2018, he has been playing professional PUBG.
I think we covered it last time. There's nothing that gets you more prepared for the Overwatch League than professional PUBG. Not even Fortnite. Professional PUBG.
Yep. So
what's the rationale behind it? Is it just like there's more money or it's easier to be a more top tier PUBG player?
I think it's that. Yeah. It's like
it makes sense. Like if you can win money and gotta do it.
Right. Yeah. I don't understand the rationale like we're gonna talk about this with Yang Xiaolong as well, but like I don't understand the rationale of signing players that haven't played competitive Overwatch in a year, just because you have some familiarity with them as a coach.
Would you say they're like more consistent players out there that if you were hypothetically building a team, you'd be like, oh, why didn't they get this player who has been more active in the Overwatch, various leagues than the players that they've picked?
I mean, there are certainly better players available, but I think that it's going to come down to like better players available for the money, right? I think that with the Chengdu Hunters, the issue seems to be money, because I don't know that for sure, but that's the feeling I'm getting.
All right, so let's talk about Yang Xiaolong, DPS, Soldier 76, Tracer, and Reaper. And then, so what has he been doing if not Overwatch?
Yeah, so Yang Xiaolong also played with one of the current coaches of the Chengdu Hunters on Miraculous Youngsters under Rai, also a year ago. He has not played competitive Overwatch since December 2017.
Oh my god. Has he played competitive PUBG since then?
Oh yes. He has played.
Yeah.
He's played some competitive PUBG.
Getting some chicken dinners left and right.
Oh yeah.
I assume.
So I don't get it. Maybe they're actually really good. They've been practicing in secret, and they really impressed them. They have the connection. They each have the connection to one of the coaches. There's like the personal chemistry there, and they showed up to their like tryouts or whatever, and they just like blew them away. But I don't know. I think that Baconjack and Yang Xiaolong are probably just gonna be kicking it on the bench for most of the season.
I mean, they're the team probably most prepared to be dropped on an island with 100 other Overwatch League players. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason. They're thinking
if
5D chess.
If there was like a looting map in Overwatch.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'd kill it.
It'd be the ace up their sleeve.
Yeah. So
how do you think this team's going to finish overall? I know you said at the beginning that you're like, okay, this team's a lot worse than I thought, now that I look more deeply at them.
Yeah. I just don't see it. I don't see them being competitive. Like looking back, because we talked about the Charge, and we talked about them trying to build around Metabellum, but like at least Metabellum's good, right? And at least like maybe there won't be cohesion or chemistry, but like they have good proven players who are familiar with each other. Right. So like I don't know. There's such a narrow window for them to like actually be somewhat competitive. So
do you think that that hiring Ray was like their signal, like we're going to be the Dragons now?
We'll see. I mean, they're definitely like 3 or 4 teams that I could easily see going. What is it? 0-28 now.
So. I mean, hey, I'm excited. I want to see it happen.
Yes, they had to pass the torch. The Dragons decided they wanted to actually win games this season, so they're like, okay, we got to pass the torch to another team who's going to go winless.
Right. I mean, or they could also go winless. They should all go.
Nobody should ever win.
Except for the Uprising.
Well, we'll get there.
Ben's like, not so fast. Oh man! So, is there anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
I hope they surprise me. I hope to be, very surprised.
Just shocked.
Yeah, I think that if they have a winning record in any of the 4 stages, I'll be like very, very shocked.
Right.
So,
All right. So with that, everybody, make sure you check out the YouTube channel for other uploads, Let's Plays. We've been playing Mario Party. We've been playing Itch.io games. We've been just having a blast. And then, of course, check out Ben. He'll be streaming on the channel. Check out Starry Cosmic. She's streaming on twitch.tv/WickedGoodEverything. And follow us on Twitter at WGEverything and on Instagram at WickedGoodEverything. Ben, is there anything you want to plug before we sign off?
my Twitter is at Ben Sharon, and I sometimes tweet stuff that matters, but very rarely.
Go follow him. Thank you so much for watching. Share this with your friends. Share this with everybody.
Tell your friends.